Okay, here we go. 2 days away from opening day. Let's talk MLB win totals and bring in Shea.
Yeah, I don't know. There's like actual structure to this, but it looks like the way we want to do it is we're going to pick an over and an under, I believe, at least one. I have much more than that. I placed quite a bit. I wasn't sure how we were structuring this. So I'm flying by the seat of my pants.
Oh,
here.
sorry. I was just like, there's Shea. He'll talk baseball. Come on in here.
I'm happy to help. I got a bunch of win totals. I'm happy to talk about this and like the process a little bit, but Jenks, please take it away.
Okay, I looked at this morning, and this is not my strong suit, but I've talked about my love for the Tampa, good God, I'm already off to a great start, the Toronto Blue Jays, and I am big on Toronto this year. I have an 11-1 ticket on Toronto to win the World Series, and I'm not particularly sold on the rest of the AL East. I absolutely think Toronto can win this thing. I'm going over their win total, and I understand they lost Marcus Semien, they lost Robbie Ray, but they did a great job of mitigating those losses by bringing in Kevin Gausman. Alek Manoah is a year older, so I think their rotation is going to be just fine. And that lineup is going to rake this year. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of Vladdy Jr., who has slimmed down, probably in the best shape he's going to be in his career thus far. You still have George Springer, Kevin Biggio, Bichette could get better. Then you have a couple guys in their farm system like Yimi Garcia, who is super talented. A guy like that could end up joining the bullpen at the end of last season, and I don't think you can enforce this point enough. The Jays were pretty good when they were going back and forth between Florida and Buffalo last year, but they were so much better at the end of last season when they got back to Rogers Center in Toronto. Now they're going to be playing under their own roof as well. That's a big boost, so I'm absolutely on the over when it comes to Toronto.
Yeah, I like Toronto too. I think they're going to have a great season. There's a reason why they are favored to win the AL East. On paper, they're very tough, one of the best young lineups. And plus, they're going to be playing in Toronto for the whole season, which must be nice as opposed to splitting time between Florida and Buffalo and, that gauntlet of a travel schedule that they had last season. But for me, I like some unders. And the first one that I took, I think it was like a week ago, the Mets season win total under 90.5 wins. I think since the news of Jacob deGrom being shut down for, at least a few weeks, that it has plummeted to 88.5 or maybe 89.5. But still, looking at this win total, the Mets have only hit this win total, if you're looking at 89.5, once since 2006. And that is the 2015 season where they won the division and made it all the way to the World Series. That year, they won 90 games. So if you got 90.5, they haven't hit this win total since 2006. But yes, the pitching is good. Yes, they still have Max Scherzer. But number one, the Mets are going to Mets. They're already doing it a little bit. And also, it was a team that struggled to score last season. They scored the fourth fewest runs in baseball last year, ranked 23rd in OPS. If you remember, Steve Cohen, the owner, was, complaining about it on Twitter multiple times last season. So I still don't have faith in this team to score a ton of runs. So I'm going to go under their win total because they can still have a great season and only win 89 games. So I'm going to go Mets under their win total. I got it at 90.5. Still would take it at 89.5 as well.
Yeah, I think it depends where you're looking in Chelsea. I think that you nailed what the process is when I'm looking at these. And what I like to do is kind of, you look at what the team did last year, where their wins were. For example, one of mine that I'm playing an under on is actually the Minnesota Twins at 81.5, which a lot of people have looked at me funny because they nailed Carlos Correa. And I know that that's like an immense signing, but you look at what they did last year and what they lost last year in, mid-season dealings of Nelson Cruz. They lose Jose Barrios. They add Sonny Gray, who I think is a good player. I don't find him nearly as valuable as Jose Barrios. I just feel like when we look at how this team gets to over 81.5, getting to 82 wins after a 73 win campaign last year, where like the most meaningful acquisition was Carlos Correa, you need like an 8 or 9 win above replacement season from Carlos Correa, and he's never done that in his career. So I think that the Twins, I got 81.5, the under at plus money. I wouldn't do it if I had to lay any chalk on it, like minus 110. I'm probably not interested, but I think it's a team where you're looking at adding 10 wins to what they did a year ago. I just don't know how they got there this offseason. That's kind of the process I take, is where were they a year ago? And what have they done now that's different as far as like wins above replacement? And how are we filling out the difference between last year and this year? Another team like the Tigers, who I'm on the over, I think added about 6 or 7 wins. If you look at the wins above replacement, they won 77 games a year ago, and their win total is either 77.5, 78.5, or 79.5, depending on where you look at it. I think they added more than 0 wins. So I'm going to bet the over.
Also, didn't they just trade for Austin Meadows? I thought that was a nice little
tremendous deal.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice little pickup, which I will say the Rays, didn't they get him in the Chris Archer deal? So they got him for like next to nothing. But, a good pickup for the Tigers. And I think the biggest thing for me is that they are now in win now mode. And that's what you're looking when you're looking at some of these win totals. You're looking for teams who are either going to get better at the trade deadline or get worse. And for me, that leads me to my next one. I'm going with the A's team total under, or not a team total, it would be their season win total under 69.5, because this team is committed to not putting anything into their lineup. They spent $0 in free agency. And I guarantee you, if somebody on their roster has a great mid-season, first half of the season, they're going to trade them away because they are committed to not paying players. They lost all of their best players from last year's lineup. 35% of their runs last season, if you look at the A's, all gone because Matt Olson, Mark Canha, and Matt Chapman combined for 244 runs batted in last season. Also trade away Chris Bassett, just trade away Sean Manaea. So it's a team that's committed to losing. So even if they're on track to win 69 games, they're going to trade at the trade deadline. So I'm committed to the under with the Oakland A's.
The one team I'm fading is I'm going to fade the Padres this season when it comes to their win total. I mentioned this a couple days ago, but I need to see it with San Diego until I believe it. I took the under at 88.5. They won 79 a year ago, and I know they were really banged up, and Tatis missed a lot of time. That rotation was banged up. I keep hearing how good San Diego is going to be, but I need to see it. Tatis is already out for the first at least couple months, so that's going to hurt. Even when they get healthy, their rotation, while it's very, very good, I think they could be due for some regression here. Joe Musgrove was great last season. I like that they added Sean Manaea. But if you look at Yu Darvish after Major League Baseball instituted the sticky ban on the whole substance on the baseballs, he went 1-9 with a 6.25 ERA. He was really bad down the stretch. You've got Mike Clevenger coming off Tommy John surgery. So there's some, they could be okay, but you're hoping for a lot of things to come together for the Padres. And then we know how they completely fell off at the end of last season. So until I see them stay healthy with the regression I think we might see in the pitching staff and the fact that they still have not become that team that we expected them to be maybe last year, the year before, I'm going to fade the Padres.
You know what else? I wanted to bet the Blue Jays, but 93.5 is such a crazy number that I could just never get there, especially in the American League East. I think it's really telling that you have 3 teams in the AL East lined in the 90s, which just tells you kind of roll the dice on one of them. They're not all going to get there. When you look at the Dodgers and you see lines at 99.5 wins, and I know that it seems like they just trip and fall into 100-win seasons, how do you ever bet the over on 99.5?
You just can't. You can't,
because 98.5 at BetMGM, but still, didn't we have this conversation last year? How it was an insane number, but I'm pretty sure they still hit their win total last year.
Yeah, they won 106 games, but it's you're one injury away from being able to do that.
I will say they have some of the best depth of any team in baseball, but I'm not brave enough to bet an under I don't know. Go ahead. I'm not doing it.
No, I would probably stay away from that one as well. But if I'm going to bet it, I'm not betting the over.